Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Okay, so today we're tackling Nvidia's stock,
Mm-hmm.
NVDA, the AI chip powerhouse.
Right.
It's been having, well, a rough 2025 so far.
Yeah, it has.
And, you sent in a bunch of articles about it. Clearly, you're a little worried about what's going on, so we're going to try to make sense of it all.
Yeah, let's do that.
Trade wars, a new competitor from China, it's a lot.
It is.
So where should we even start?
Well, maybe with the fact that Nvidia had such a stellar 2024, everyone thought they were unstoppable.
Right. But then 2025 hit.
And everything changed.
Yeah, it's like they're getting squeezed from both sides, you know?
And it's like a two-pronged attack almost.
Yeah, exactly.
On the one hand, you've got these tariffs from the Trump administration.
Oh, right, yeah.
25% on goods from Mexico and Canada, and then another 10% on everything from China.
And that's huge for a company like Nvidia.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. The entire semiconductor industry relies on these intricate global supply chains.
Right, yeah. You can't just suddenly shift production somewhere else.
No, it's not that easy. So these tariffs, they have the potential to really mess things up. Costs skyrocketing, disruptions all over the place. And then if this turns into an all-out trade war...
Oh, man. Demand could plummet.
Exactly.
So that's one side of it.
Right. And then, to make matters even worse, there's this new competitor, DeepSeek, coming out of China.
DeepSeek, yeah, I've heard that name.
They've got this budget-friendly AI model, and, it's causing quite a stir.
I bet. Especially for those companies who are shelling out big bucks for Nvidia's top-tier chips.
Exactly. And that's what's making people nervous. If you can get similar performance, but at a fraction of the cost.
Well, wouldn't you switch?
Right. So suddenly everyone's worried about shrinking profit margins for Nvidia and whether they're losing their grip on the market.
So that explains the stock sell-off.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the overall context.
Yeah.
But you sent over some articles with some pretty intense technical analysis in them.
Right.
I gotta say, charts aren't really my forte. Can you break it down for us?
Sure. Let's look at what the charts are telling us.
Okay.
Remember the rising wedge pattern we talked about before? Well, Nvidia just broke through the bottom of it. And that's not a good sign.
I remember you saying something about that. It's bad.
Yeah, it usually signals a reversal.
Yeah.
And in this case, a reversal downwards.
And onwards.
And what makes this even more worrisome is the volume.
The volume.
The volume of trading when that breakdown happened. We haven't seen those kinds of numbers since, like, August 2023.
So this is serious.
It means the big players are getting out. Institutional investors, they're the ones selling.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, definitely cause for concern.
So where do we go from here?
Well, we got to look at the support levels. Where the stock might find some footing. First one to watch is 96 stus. If it holds above that, there's a chance it could stabilize a bit.
96 ZX, got it.
Interestingly, that lines up with a peak in March 2024 and then a low in August 2024. So it's been a significant point before.
Okay. Like a battleground almost.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it breaks below 96...
Then we're looking at the next support level, around 76 stutses.
76.6.
It was a low point back in April 2023.
Oh, right, during that big run-up.
Right. And some investors might see that as a bargain and start buying in.
Okay.
Which could help it bounce back a little.
So 96 is the short-term test.
Yeah.
And 76 is kind of a historical safety net.
Yeah, something like that.
And if even that doesn't hold.
Worst case scenario, it could drop toward 50.
Wow.
That's significant.
Why is 50 so significant?
Well, a couple of reasons. First, it's right around that 200 period moving average.
Right, yeah.
It's a key indicator a lot of long-term investors use.
Okay.
To see the overall trend. And second, it aligns with a few previous peaks from 2023.
So it's got a lot of historical weight behind it.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got these potential drop points.
Right.
But you also mentioned something earlier about a death cross.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds pretty scary.
Yeah, it's not great.
What is a death cross?
So that's when the 50-period moving average, which is a shorter-term trend indicator,
Right.
dips below the 200-period one, the one we just talked about.
Okay.
And it's often seen as confirming that the long-term trend is heading down.
So it's like, if you're looking at a chart, it's like these two lines crossing paths.
Yeah.
And the downward one is taking the lead.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's not good.
Not ideal, no. But, some investors might actually see it as a buying opportunity.
Right.
If they're really in it for the long haul.
Okay, so we've talked about all these potential drop points, but let's look at the flip side. What would a recovery look like for Nvidia?
Well, if they can manage to rally the first hurdle to watch is around $130.
$130.
Yeah, it aligns with that peak in August 2024, and then a trough in December 2024.
Okay.
So it's where selling pressure emerged before.
Got it. So $130 is kind of the first checkpoint on the road to recovery.
Exactly.
And after that?
Well, if they can get through 130 convincingly, then the next target is $150.
$150.
Which is just below their all-time high.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of traders will be watching that level very closely.
Okay, so we've got our downside targets and our upside targets.
Right.
But it's not just about price.
Right.
What else should we be looking at on these charts?
You're right. Volume trends and technical indicators can give us more clues.
Okay.
Like, remember how we talked about that high volume during the breakdown?
Yeah.
That's, it's not a good sign because it means big investors are selling. But sometimes those big spikes can actually signal something called capitulation.
Capitulation.
It's like panicked selling. Everyone's trying to get out at the same time.
Oh, I see.
And sometimes that can set the stage for a reversal.
So it's like all the negative energy gets released, and then
things have a chance to bounce back.
Okay, interesting. So it's not always a bad sign.
Right. And another thing to watch for is something called volume divergence.
Volume divergence.
That's when the price keeps dropping, but the volume actually decreases.
Oh, okay.
It suggests that the selling frenzy is losing steam.
Okay.
Like, maybe everyone who wanted to sell is already sold.
I see. So even in a downturn, there can be these little hints about what might happen next.
Exactly. Now let's talk about another tool, the RSI.
RSI.
It stands for Relative Strength Index,
Right.
and it basically tells us whether the stock is overbought or oversold.
Oh, interesting.
And recently, Nvidia's RSI dipped below 50, which indicates a shift toward bearish momentum.
Oh, okay. So more evidence that the bears are in control.
Yeah, for now. But if the RSI keeps dropping and goes below 30,
Below 30.
that's considered oversold territory. And that could actually signal a potential rebound.
Oh, so it's like a rubber band snapping back.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. So we've got these support and resistance levels, volume trends, and the RSI.
Right.
Anything else?
We can't forget about moving averages.
Oh, right, those. We talked about the 50-period and 200-period ones earlier.
Yep. And looking at how the price interacts with those lines can be really helpful.
Like it tells us if the stock is trending up, down, or sideways.
Exactly. Above those lines is good, below them is not so good.
Got it.
So those are some of the technical signals to watch.
This is all great stuff.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, I think it's important to step back a little.
Okay.
Look at the bigger picture.
Right.
Because Nvidia isn't operating in a vacuum, right? What's happening in the overall market that might be impacting their stock?
Right. Good point. Nvidia's not alone in this downturn. The whole market is pretty volatile right now.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, there are a few reasons. Geopolitical concerns, uncertainty about interest rates, some mixed economic data.
So it's a lot of factors all coming together.
Yeah. It's creating what we call a risk-off environment.
Risk-off?
Where investors are moving their money to safer assets.
Oh, okay. And that's not good for growth stocks like Nvidia, I guess.
No, not really. Growth stocks tend to be more sensitive to those big macroeconomic shifts.
I see. So even if Nvidia is doing well, the overall market mood can still drag them down?
Yeah, unfortunately it can. It's like trying to swim against a strong current.
Wow, that's a good analogy. Okay, so we've got the overall market sentiment to consider. What else?
Well, there's also investor psychology to think about.
Right, because people's emotions can really influence their decisions.
Oh, absolutely. And right now, fear is playing a big role in driving that selling pressure.
Oh, so it's like people are scared, so they sell, which makes other people scared.
Exactly. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Wow, it's amazing how interconnected all these things are. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah, it is. And like any good puzzle, there are clues everywhere if you know where to look.
I'm definitely starting to see those clues.
Good.
But I feel like we've only just scratched the surface here.
Yeah, we've got a lot more to unpack.
All right, well, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back soon to dive even deeper into the world of Nvidia.
It's interesting to think about how this pressure on Nvidia, with everything going on, might be affecting their strategy.
Oh, yeah, like internally.
Exactly. Like, are they seeing this as a chance to maybe come out even stronger?
Oh, you mean like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger?
Yeah, kinda. Competition can be a good thing. It can force companies to innovate more, be more efficient, and in the long run, be even more successful.
Right. It's like It's like when a blacksmith forges a sword. The heat and the pressure make it sharper, stronger.
Exactly. So even though things look tough for NVIDIA right now, this could actually be a turning point for them.
Yeah, a chance to reinvent themselves. Okay, so we've talked about the tariffs, the competition from DeepSeek, the technical stuff, and the market sentiment. But there's another layer to this whole thing, right? The political angle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The Trump administration's trade policies are a big part of this story.
It's like they're changing the rules of the game in the middle of the match.
Yeah, it's unpredictable. And, these tariffs, especially the ones on China, they could easily escalate into a full-blown trade war.
And that would be bad news for everyone, really.
Definitely. And especially for tech companies like Nvidia that, rely heavily on China for manufacturing and sales.
Right. So even if demand for their products stays high, those tariffs could still hurt their bottom line.
Oh, absolutely. If components get more expensive or if it becomes harder to sell in China, their profits could take a hit.
And it's not just about Nvidia, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a trade war between the U.S. and China, that would affect the entire global economy.
Oh, yeah. It would be like a domino effect. Supply chains would be disrupted, economic growth could slow down, and there'd be this huge cloud of uncertainty hanging over everything.
Okay, so that's the potential downside of these tariffs. But what about if they get lifted? Or if there's some kind of trade deal?
Right.
I mean, the articles you sent didn't really talk about those possibilities.
Yeah, and that's the tricky thing with politics, right? It's so unpredictable. It's hard to say what's going to happen with these trade tensions.
Right. It's like trying to predict the weather weeks in advance. There's just too many variables.
Yeah.
But even though we can't see the future, it's still important for investors to think about the potential impact.
Oh, absolutely. It's a big factor to consider. It could create both risks and opportunities.
Right. Okay. So we've talked a lot about the external factors that are affecting Nvidia.
Right.
But let's zoom in a bit. Let's talk about their actual financials.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous to see what the numbers look like, to be honest.
Well, you might be surprised. NVIDIA's financials are actually quite solid.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, with everything we've been talking about, I thought for sure their numbers would be taking a hit.
It does seem counterintuitive, right? But their latest earnings report showed some pretty strong revenue growth, especially in their data center and gaming segments.
So the business itself is doing okay, even though the stock is struggling.
Yeah, it seems like it. It's almost like a disconnect between perception and reality.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So if the business is doing well, why is the stock price tanking?
Well, remember, the market is always looking ahead. Investors are trying to anticipate future earnings, future growth. And right now, there's a lot of uncertainty about NVIDIA's long-term prospects.
Right, because of everything we've been talking about, the tariffs, the competition, the overall market sentiment.
Exactly. It's like everyone's so focused on the potential risks that they're overlooking the current strengths.
So are you saying that this could actually be a good time to buy Nvidia stock?
Well, I'm not giving financial advice.
Right, of course.
But for investors who believe in the long-term potential of AI and Nvidia's role in that future,
yeah.
This dip in the stock price could be seen as an opportunity.
Okay, so it's a risk, but a potential opportunity as well.
Exactly. It all depends on your individual investment goals and risk tolerance.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about the potential upside.
Yeah.
But we also need to be realistic about the potential downsides.
Oh, absolutely. We can't ignore those.
So what are the biggest risks for NVIDIA right now?
Well, we've already talked about some of them. The tariffs, the threat from DeepSeek, the overall market volatility.
Right. It's a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
So how does an investor or even just someone who's interested in this story, how do they make sense of all this? How do they decide whether or not NVIDIA is a good investment for them?
That's a great question. And honestly, there's no easy answer. It all depends on your individual circumstances, your goals, your risk tolerance, your time horizon. Are you looking for short-term gains or are you in it for the long haul?
Right. It's like choosing between a speedboat and a sailboat. Yeah. They can both get you where you want to go, but the journey is going to be very different.
I like that. And just like choosing the right boat, choosing the right investment strategy is crucial. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. It's all about understanding the company, the industry, the broader market context, and then making informed decisions based on your own unique situation.
So it sounds like navigating the world of investing is just as challenging as navigating the open sea.
You could say that, but as we've been talking about Nvidia, it's striking me that their story is actually a microcosm of the challenges and opportunities facing the entire tech industry right now.
Oh, that's interesting. How so?
Well, think about it. The tech sector is going through this period of rapid transformation.
Right, with AI and cloud computing and all that.
Exactly. And that's creating both winners and losers.
Right. It's like a constantly evolving ecosystem where only the fittest survive.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important for investors to not only understand the technology itself, but also the broader trends that are shaping the industry.
Right. It's about seeing the forest for the trees.
Precisely. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of things here. The tariffs, the competition from DeepSeek, the technical picture, the overall market sentiment, the political angle. But I think there's one more element we need to address. The human element.
Oh, yeah. I love bringing it back to the human side of things. It's easy to get caught up in the numbers and the charts, but ultimately it's people who are making these decisions.
That's so true. And those human factors, they can have a huge impact on how the market behaves.
Right. We've all heard stories about investors getting caught up in the hype or panic selling based on fear rather than logic.
Exactly. Emotions can really cloud our judgment, especially when it comes to money.
So how do we avoid those emotional traps?
Well, I think it starts with awareness. Being aware of our own biases and trying to approach investing with a more disciplined mindset.
Right. So it's about staying grounded, doing your research, and not letting fear or greed control your decisions.
Exactly. It's like being the captain of a ship. You got to stay focused on the course, even when the waves are crashing all around you.
That's a great analogy. And, I think you've done a fantastic job of navigating us through these choppy waters today. You've really helped me understand the nuances of NVIDIA's situation.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you found it helpful. And, it's really inspiring to see how much effort you've put into understanding all of this.
Well, I always try to do my homework. But sometimes it feels like the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know.
That's the beauty of it, though, right? The market is constantly evolving. There's always something new to learn. There's no such thing as a perfect investor.
That's true. It's all about continuous learning and adaptation.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay, I'm listening.
We've talked a lot about NVIDIA's challenges, the risks they're facing, but we've also talked about the incredible potential of AI to transform our world, and I can't help but feel a sense of excitement, even awe, when I think about the possibilities.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like we're on the verge of something truly extraordinary, and NVIDIA is right at the center of it all.
Exactly. Their chips are powering the AI algorithms that are already changing the way we live, the way we work, the way we interact with the world, from self-driving cars to personalized medicine to groundbreaking scientific discoveries. AI is poised to revolutionize everything.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
If NVIDIA can navigate these challenges, if it can continue to innovate and maintain their leadership in the AI space, the potential upside for investors could be huge.
It's a thrilling prospect, isn't it? To be a part of something so transformative, so potentially world-changing.
It really is. It's a reminder that even in the midst of volatility and uncertainty, there's always hope for the future.
Beautifully said. It's not just about the numbers. It's about believing in the power of human ingenuity to solve problems and create a better future.
Okay, I'm definitely feeling inspired now. But before we get too carried away, let's bring it back down to earth for a minute. We've talked a lot about the big picture, the macro trends, the strategic landscape. But what about NVIDIA specifically? What can they do as a company to navigate these challenges and capitalize on the opportunities?
That's a great question, and it's something that their leadership team is probably thinking about a lot right now. From what we've seen, they have a few key strategic options. First and foremost, they need to double down on innovation.
So it's about staying ahead of the curve, pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI technology.
Exactly. They can't afford to rest on their laurels. They need to keep developing faster, more powerful, more efficient chips that can meet the ever-growing demands of the AI industry.
It's like an arms race, but instead of weapons, it's about who can create the most powerful brains for these AI systems.
That's a great way to put it. And remember DeepSeek, that competitor from China.
Yeah.
NVIDIA needs to find a way to counter their threat. They need to either match their pricing or offer something so innovative, so game-changing, that it makes DeepSeek's technology look obsolete.
So it's about being either the most affordable option or being so far ahead of the competition that price becomes irrelevant.
Exactly. It's like being the Ferrari or the Toyota of the AI chip world. Both have their place, but for different reasons.
Okay, so finding that balance between affordability and cutting-edge innovation, that's going to be key for NVIDIA.
Absolutely. Now, another important strategy for them is to diversify their revenue streams.
Oh, right. They can't put all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly, especially with all the uncertainty surrounding the gaming market and the potential for a slowdown in data center spending.
So it's about finding new markets where they can apply their AI technology.
That's the idea. They're already making moves into areas like automotive, health, and robotics, all places where AI is playing an increasingly important role.
So it's like they're planting seeds in different fields, hoping that some of them will grow into strong, healthy plants.
That's a great analogy, and it's a smart strategy, especially in a volatile environment like the one we're in right now. The more diversified they are, the less vulnerable they'll be to any one particular market or economic shock.
Right. It's about hedging their bets.
Exactly. Now, beyond product innovation and market diversification, NVIDIA also needs to focus on strengthening their partnerships.
Partnerships.
Yeah, they need to build strong relationships with the key players in the AI ecosystem, the cloud providers, the software developers, the research institutions, everyone who's involved in building the future of AI.
So it's about creating a network, a team of experts who can help them navigate this complex landscape.
Precisely. The AI revolution isn't going to be won by any one company alone.
Oh.
It's going to require collaboration, shared knowledge, a willingness to work together.
It's like building a symphony orchestra.
Yeah.
You need all the different instruments working in harmony to create something truly beautiful.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Now, the final piece of NVIDIA's strategic puzzle is all about communication.
Communication.
Yeah, they need to be transparent with investors, clearly articulate their vision for the future, and address the concerns that are driving this current stock slump.
So it's about building trust, being honest about the challenges, but also painting a compelling picture of the opportunities.
Exactly. They need to tell their story in a way that resonates with investors, that inspires confidence, that makes people want to be a part of their journey.
It's like being a storyteller, weaving a narrative that captures the imagination.
That's a great analogy, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. NVIDIA needs to convince investors that despite these headwinds, they're still the best bet in the AI race, that they have the talent, the resources, the vision to lead the way.
Wow, this has been an incredible journey so far. We've explored so many different aspects of NVIDIA's story, the macro trends, the competitive landscape, the technical indicators, the human element. And I have to say, I'm feeling a lot more optimistic about their future.
I'm so glad to hear that. I think you've done a fantastic job of breaking down these complex topics.
Well, thank you. But it's like they're climbing a mountain and they've reached a particularly challenging stretch.
That's a great way to visualize it, and it's a reminder that success is never guaranteed, especially in the world of technology where disruption is the norm.
So how can we, as investors or even just as interested observers, how can we evaluate NVIDIA's progress? What are the key metrics we should be watching?
That's a great question, and it's something that we'll dive into in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore the key indicators that can help us assess their performance, their competitive positioning, and their overall strategic direction.
Sounds good. I'm ready to keep exploring this fascinating world of AI and see where this journey takes us next. Okay, so we're back, ready to wrap up our deep dive into NVIDIA.
Yeah, let's do it.
We've covered a lot, but there's one thing that keeps coming back to me as we've been, analyzing all of this.
Okay, what's that?
It's almost like NVIDIA's story is a reflection of the whole tech industry.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. Tech's always been kind of cyclical, right? Boom and bust. Periods of crazy growth followed by these inevitable dips.
So this slump they're in, maybe it's not a sign of failure, but just part of a larger pattern.
Right. Think about all the big tech companies of the past. They all went through tough times. But the ones that survived, the ones that adapted, they came back stronger.
So it's more about how NVIDIA responds than than the fact that they're facing challenges.
Exactly. It's a test. Can they be resilient? Can they adapt?
Right. And that's why this is so interesting to analyze. It's not just about the numbers. It's about watching a company at this really critical moment.
Yeah, a make or break moment.
A defining moment.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say Nvidia does pull through. What could really launch them to even greater success? What are the big things that could propel them forward?
Well, their core business is still strong. You know, the demand for their GPUs in data centers, in gaming, it's not going away. And if AI keeps growing like it is, that demand could explode.
So they're well positioned to ride that AI wave.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about AI being integrated into every industry you can think of: healthcare, finance, transportation. If Nvidia plays it right, they could be, the brains behind it all.
Wow.
Yeah.
But of course, there are those risks we talked about.
Right. Trade war, DeepSeek, the whole market being unpredictable.
Yeah. So for our listener who's been following along with us, what's the key takeaway here?
I think it's this. Nvidia is at a crossroads. Huge potential, but some serious challenges too. How they handle the next few years, that's going to determine everything.
Okay, so that's the big picture. But let's get practical for a second. How can people track their progress? What should we be looking at?
Good question. There are a few key things to watch.
Okay, starting with the financials.
Sure. Revenue growth is always important. Are they still growing, especially in those key markets like data centers and gaming? But even more important is, are they turning that revenue into profit? Profit margins. Got to keep an eye on those, especially with DeepSeek pushing prices down.
So it's not just about how much money they're making, but how much they get to keep.
Right. And then there's ROIC, return on invested capital.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Basically, how efficiently are they using their money to make more money? A high ROIC means they're investing wisely.
Okay, makes sense. What about beyond the pure financials?
Well, market share is huge. Are they gaining ground or losing it? Especially to DeepSeek. In the AI chip market, it's all about being the leader.
King of the hill.
Exactly. And to stay on top, they need to keep innovating. So watch their R&D spending. Are they putting enough money into research and development, into creating the next big thing?
Because if they don't, someone else will.
Right. And then finally, pay attention to their management team, their vision. Are they making good decisions? Are they communicating well with investors? Do they have a solid plan?
So it's not just about the numbers, it's about the people behind them.
Absolutely. A company is only as good as its leaders.
Okay. Well, I feel like we've really explored this in depth.
We have.
The AI market, the geopolitical stuff, the technicals, the human element. I think our listener has a pretty good toolkit now to make their own decisions about Nvidia.
Yeah, I agree. They've clearly been paying attention, asking great questions.
Even beyond Nvidia itself, I think there are some bigger lessons here about investing in general.
Oh, for sure. What are you thinking?
Well, first of all, do your research. Don't invest in anything until you understand it.
Yeah, knowledge is key.
And then stay informed. The market's always changing, so you got to keep up with the latest news, the trends.
It's like you're sailing a ship. You got to be aware of the currents, the winds.
And be patient. The market goes up and down. But if you have a plan and you stick to it,
you're more likely to reach your destination.
Exactly. Okay, so to wrap things up, I just want to say, the world of technology, it's constantly evolving. The companies that can keep up, that can innovate, that can create value, those are the ones that are going to win. And whether or not NVIDIA ends up being a winning investment, their story reminds us that the future is full of possibilities.
Right. And it's those who are willing to take risks, to embrace those possibilities, who are going to shape that future.
Exactly. So to our listener, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you learned a lot. And until next time, happy investing.